We do not own the rights to anything or any music that's heard during the duration of this podcast. Also, a lot of these shows will have explicit content. So if you are not a fan of any cursing or profanity, you may want to walk away, but that does not mean that every show will consist of such.
Are you serious? Like, we at season 7? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons. Yeah, season 7. Magic number. If you know, you know. I'm not gonna go in depth with that, but yeah, this will be a very positive season. I don't know why and what's making me say that, but everything's changed. I'm still, like I said, stuff is very fluctuating now. I found that the connection with things is to get people to talk, as well as me taking time to talk. So you'll notice it, especially when you hear the first few episodes of this season. But it's just about sitting down and just having good talk, good conversation. Pass the message. Y'all know they ain't going nowhere. If you know, you know. If you've been around for a while, you already know how we give it up. But just hang in there. The content's amazing. The moves are even more amazing. And just put yourself in the right headspace to get this information. So hope y'all enjoy. What is up? What is going on? Episode 383 of The Pass is here. I'm your host, BT. Same place, different locations, and I'll explain in a moment. I have a guest to you all, a friend to me. Full circle is an understatement in how well we know each other. She's going to laugh only because I'm titling this episode Desi's Den. And we're going to let it be what it's going to be.
Branded?
Yeah, unintentionally. So to give I'll give the 2% backstory and then I'll let her introduce herself. Probably a little over a year ago. Actually, yeah, over a year ago because it was around Memorial Day. Her and I connected through a mutual friend who the mutual friend's mother was on my podcast. I want to say either last year or the year before. And we connected, talked about designing. We did like a procreation crash course as well as some productivity talk. And pretty much we've been there for each other through hell and high water, thick and thin. A lot of transitions have happened for both of us, but we're still standing. And we talked this up for a while, so I was like, hey, it would be good for you to come on the show. So I will let Desi introduce herself and kind of give her elevator pitch briefly, and then we'll run into some good convo.
Oh yeah. So it's your girl, Miss Desi. Very happy to be here. Thank you for having me, Brian.
No problem.
I am a local artist, hostess, owner of Grand Nuvid LLC, providing your digital media needs.
Like that round down, okay. My bad.
Yeah. Oh, you good. Just a very ambitious woman in general, building from the ground up.
Okay. Good. She gave it, as I always like to tell everybody, she gave like the cool, the little pieces there. She's a notary. She's also her business or her hustle that, if I'm okay with sharing, she's an electrical worker. Yeah. She definitely knows her electrical game. That's her trade, strong trade. We had that conversation off air about the importance of learning and getting into trade. So it's a good conversation. But it's good for you to come. I appreciate you being on the show. We're gonna chop it up.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. You listen. This was a conversation overdue in the making for a while. So just sitting and picking your brain about different things. And ironically, since my boy had on last week, we did our chop up about business. I was like, it's good to have another entrepreneur on as well, female entrepreneur, female Black entrepreneur. Want to be sure we, give credit where it's due. So following script, and I've already gave kind of the backstory about this last week, so I don't need to go into intangible about it again. You in the car, we're going old school. You got a 5-disc changer. You say, hey, I got these albums. They're gonna play. We taking a trip. We on the road. Gone. Can't skip. Can't stop. Gotta let everything play. Give me your 5 albums, no particular order.
I'm going to drive somebody crazy with this. And I'm also going to date myself a little bit.
Okay.
All right. Now, the first number 1 is mostly about impact, okay?
Okay.
It's very arguable on whether this is a good selection or not, but when I say this album changed my life. Moni Love, Down to Earth.
Okay.
Literally, I can remember being in 5th grade and forcing my father to sit there and watch me perform every single song on that track.
Right.
And that was the first time I connected. I knew about the Queen Latifahs, the Yo-Yos, the MC Lights, but Moni was the only one that I actually related to myself.
Right.
And I could see myself in him. And that's actually when I decided, maybe I want to play around with music as well.
Right.
So that's number 1. Second, I would say Machiavelli. I ain't gonna lie.
Okay.
Tupac.
So that's the first we've had, and I don't think I don't think anybody has done Tupac as an album yet. Okay.
And you know what? He's not one of my favorite artists. Over
fair.
time, as I grew up, I started to like him less.
Okay.
But that album will always be a staple as well. It takes me back to a place where you can dumb out to any one of them tracks, and it's just the vibe that it gives is giving for me. You know what I mean? And to keep it on a little thuggy level, my childhood, this really does kind of tell a lot about me.
Right.
Bone Thugs, East 1999. I don't know how many people might have dumbed out to that, but literally there was a time in my life where that was the fuel I needed to accomplish what I was doing at the moment. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I was a lot more rowdy back then than I am now. But that's one that I could listen to from start to finish. I would have every emotion from something intellectual to let's ride out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then I got Sade, of course. She is a classic. I wake up to Sade on a Saturday morning, clean my house, and the vibes are just great. She is like the musical sage that just drives out all of the weird vibes I might have going on.
Okay. Which I'm curious. Which Sade album?
Love Deluxe.
Oh, okay. Okay, got it.
This is no.
Yeah, I think because I want to say
my girl.
Love Deluxe is the one that has Feel No Pain on it. I think. Yeah, that's I have a backstory to that, but continue. I'm sorry.
Well, the last one is an artist that I always felt was underrated when he was out. I feel like he was done very dirty. His music, so much love in the music. Maxwell. Maxwell will always be one of my favorite artists.
Okay.
His Urban Hang Suite. Yes.
Yeah. You got a moment. Do I need to step out?
Yeah, that was that was a pivotal time in my life where I was actually ready to feel love and mushy feelings and all that good stuff.
Right.
So all of these are my top 5 non-skippables because I will definitely listen from start to finish, and they all have some kind of impact or remind me or reground me to who I was before chaos took over.
Gotcha. Noted. Okay. All right. So, East 1999 is that's a classic only because of the fact. So I'll deep dive these a little bit. When I think of Moni, I always think about Moni in the middle. So that's number 1.
Yeah.
Pac, I was the same way. Growing up, it was kind of paper planes to me. And also, I kind of we're not we're literally a year apart in age. So as far as music went, like at that time, I was still kind of like learning and listening. So I didn't really have like a push or pull about different artists. So when Pac came on, it was kind of like, okay, it's not really my dance, but I mean, hey, if it's what you're into, it's what you're into. I can listen to it now and I get like a different understanding of where he was at or where he was going.
Yeah.
He's like I said, he's 1999. That's like between Thuggish Ruggish,
classic.
between Thuggish Ruggish, between First of the Month, Mo Murder, and then because I want to say one of the songs on there was the album song, like the name of the album. That one,
1990.
I got those attachments with those flows, and yeah, Sade loved. A lot of people don't talk about Love Deluxe because it was Sade was doing a lot of music at that time where it was like quick. It was like quick hits. Like, you'll get like about 8 or 9 tracks and it was like, that was it. Fun fact, and this is just something I've observed with most of her albums. Her last song is always it's like a fade out, it's a calming fade out where you just like, okay, I'm thinking I'm gonna get another song, and it's like, nope, that's it. She leave you hanging.
Keep you hungry for more.
Oh yeah, she definitely she know how to feed the musical soul big time. Oh, yeah. And finally, I mean, Maxwell is a artist that I think he really doesn't get his flowers in music. I'm probably reaching what I'm about to say, but many people notice I am semi/anti music award shows. Because I get it. It's a popularity contest. It's a political rat race. I'm not I don't fight it for what it is. But on the flip side, it's also like it doesn't. The times that it's like, hey, here's your opportunity to acknowledge said artist. You don't hear his name come up. And as a random example, outside of everybody you named, because since the guy last week brought it up, it's a random factor that I'm thinking about. Every year when they do. It's usually the hip BET Awards. It's always around the anniversary of Michael's death, and they never do a dedication. They miss it every year, and I don't understand how. I'm like, how? Like that? It was a random thought that just popped up. So, yeah, I was like, okay, so but that's a solid 5. I'm rocking with it. I'll roll with it. But yeah,
that's my selection.
Yeah. Hey,
I'll drive you crazy the whole trip.
Hey, no, that's as long as the main goal is to enjoy the flow, let the music be what it be. So, So, Grand Nuvet. Going in the library. I know you say it louder. I already know. I ain't even surprised.
You know it.
Yeah, so I'm a real back a sec because I did want to bring up at the beginning because I said, yeah, I'm in the same place, different seating. Last week I was in this exact room doing this exact style of podcast. Only difference was seats were in reverse because I'm normally like her where I'm usually like always on P's and Q's. And ironically today I wore the shirt that says read the room, so it doesn't make it any better. But she was like, yeah, I was like, I'll give guest choice today. And I was like, I know she gonna pick the other side, but it's cool. It's all good. I ain't mad.
Minds think alike.
No. It's like, hey, it is what it is. Normally, so before we continue with Grand New, I'm gonna share this, and this is probably one of the weirdest things that I got introduced to doing, and I found it to work. And this may be an early passing message, I don't know. A lot of times when people go on dates, they normally sit across from each other on dates. I'm weird because I found this to work. If you go on a date with somebody, sit beside them. Because you now can like get it's like a double view of like whatever. Like if you miss whatever on the other side, okay, it is what it is. But you also get like true quality time.
That's facts.
Yeah, that's something I've observed. So I just was bringing that reference up. But I was like, we just gonna chill, and this is also like I said, this was a planned / impromptu pod, and this is also just us like kicking it, chopping it up. So, yeah, Grand Nuvet. Give the listeners kind of an understanding because I know you mentioned it in an overall breakdown, but like kind of give your story of like what got Grand Nuvet off the ground and becoming such a conglomerate. You thought I was
startup conglomerate. That's right. Check me out 10-15 years from now, I'll probably be a household name. But Grand Nuvet was established 2021, but was like founded, thought of, birthed sometime 2019, 2020.
Okay.
Definitely birthed out of a need for change, out of a need for focus, out of a need to save myself. Circumstances have always been rough for me,
Right.
but I've always been like a big go-getter type of person, you know? And it actually started off where I'm listening to all of this sovereign citizen speak and people doing things like trying to get money for their birth certificates and breaking down how our social security numbers and all of those things are really things that establish us as corporations.
Right.
And it just kind of triggered some thought into me. I didn't really go down that whole rabbit hole, but I started to look at myself more like a corporation. And like, if I really was a business, what type of business would I provide?
Right.
Who would I be? And how can I market myself? And I started to piece together things that come easily to me that are skills or services that others could benefit from. So of course, I've always been musically inclined. I've always loved editing and creating in that kind of way, both audio and visual.
Right.
And I learned other hustles, like the notary, loan signing agent. And I've always been into building websites also. Shout out to Black Data Processing Associates, BDPA, back in the day.
Talk that talk.
You know, they invested a lot of knowledge and a lot of time into me, just teaching me things that would take me out of the mental environment I was in as a child.
Right.
And it really stuck. And when I pull all of that together, I'm like, okay, you know, we have something here. We have something we can grow off of. And then I designed this like pseudo kind of logo. And my daughter took it and she perfected the look of it. Like, she's an amazing artist.
Okay.
And I'm like, ooh. And the word grand just kind of jumped at me. I'm like, okay. And I started playing around with words and lettering and numbers and what those things mean to me. And Nuvid kind of came out. Like, there was a whole breakdown on like what that means, which I have to share with you in the future because it's kind of long-winded. But
okay, we make that part 2.
We can make that a part 2.
Okay.
It definitely has a very deep meaning to it.
Okay.
Could
you give a high level breakdown of it, maybe, or it would really be like an in-depth unpack?
It is really in depth.
Got it. Okay.
Like each letter of the word Nuvid has a numerical and a spiritual meaning to it.
Okay.
So it's deeper than it looks, but
okay.
And that goes into me pretty much blessing the skills, the services that I'm providing. Yeah, we'll get into that on part 2.
Okay.
But yeah, it all started coming together. I got the website built. I actually went through a process of trying to release everything at one time and just overcrowding my website with everything that I'm capable of at one time. And then I had to take a step back, like, okay, some things are working, some things are not. And just generally, I'm a little overwhelmed because I've put way too much on my plate.
Right.
But that allowed me to focus more on the most lucrative sides of the business, the sides that I'm able to grow more quickly.
Yeah.
Because then I can use those to reinvest into the other parts that I may still need to grow on or will require just more to market the right way or to even be able to provide to the standard that I hold myself to.
Right.
Overall, it's been an incredible experience. I have made some really good connections.
Okay.
Definitely learned a lot.
You had a big invoice recently.
Yes.
Like if I would normally do it, I'd throw my air horns or sound effects in there. But due to location, we being respectful. I'm working that in next time. But yeah, I got you. Okay.
So I won't go into too much detail because it's your business. But I was recently blessed with the ability to close a deal on an ebook.
No, you got to go into detail about it because okay. Welcome to Brian's podcast where they don't want to talk to Brian. They've heard me enough times. I've done 382 episodes. I'm tired of talking. Tell me your story. Talk your shit.
Well, this lady, she's an incredible lady. Mm-hmm. She's got a lot of projects that she's working on.
Okay.
Currently, you can find her doing sewing classes. Her name is Marquetta Fisher.
Okay.
She provides sewing classes at libraries such as where we are, and several other libraries around Richmond, which are free for people to attend and learn sewing skills, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
She also provides crochet classes, and like fashion-wise, she's doing a lot of different things. Like I commend that woman.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we've got a project we're working on. I don't want to spill too much of the beans.
Fair enough. Yeah.
It's I think she has a really good idea of what she wants, and I think it would be extremely marketable.
Okay.
And profitable for her. And I thank her so much for allowing me to help her in this process.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll be creating her ebook. I will be releasing or publishing it to different social medias, possibly like an actual hard copy type of thing as well. We've already got the follow-up project in play as well.
No.
Yeah. Okay. I'm excited for it. And I'll also be handling the marketing portion of things. So
you kind of almost low-key, well, not even low-key, high-key, you're going to be like the one-stop. Yeah, you'll be doing the full brand marketing, brand strategy in a sense.
Which it ties into future endeavors that I have for Grand New Vid. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm a startup conglomerate, y'all. So
how she sneak the whispering like she had on headphones? What is it? Yo, I can't. Go ahead.
Oh, you gotta love it.
No, I do.
But yeah, publishing is going to be a big thing. Publishing of literature, publishing of music. Mm-hmm. Will be like its own sector under the Grand New Vid umbrella. So more than likely it'll have its own DBA and things of that nature. But for right now, as we're taking baby steps, everything's kind of under the same umbrella.
Okay.
We're also working on, I say we, like I am many people.
I mean, we is me. But, you we. You are we, not French.
At this point, yeah. But like we got a marketplace that's being built.
I bought a hat.
Well, you bought the Grand New Vid hat. Like you have official day one merch. Thank you. That will in the future be like exclusive.
Yeah. Like
you would have had to have been there. And there will be like a movement for that as well.
Right.
But yeah, I originally had ideas of a Bori marketplace.
Okay.
But apparently that name is not necessarily available. I'm wondering why, as I'm building like the social media bones of it, I'm being shut down. Like I haven't even made the first post yet. And they're like, you're violating our standards. And I'm like, okay. I definitely did several different searches and the name itself is available, but it is very much like the name of several other companies. And I'm pretty sure they're like, no, we're going to fight you on this. So no harm, no foul. As a creative, I'm able to recreate, and do whatever is necessary. So the actual name of the marketplace is going to change. Mm-hmm. But branding wise, like I think when you're looking for a need to supply, it's like there's so many.
Right. Yeah.
How do you choose one? And I think for me, it's safer for me to go with things that I directly relate to because I'm always plugged in.
Yeah.
And as a Black woman, I feel there is a need for diversity in my representation. there are like really specific avenues that we can go into. Like, we're not going to talk about this whole culture in the music or or the extra super woke and conscious side of things and the lack of a middle ground. You know what I mean? And so I found a need for different representation that I can supply. I can supply through fashion. I can supply through different products for like households or not cosmetics, but like health-wise, not necessarily.
Kind of almost like the holistic.
Kind of holistic, but not so in depth, because I'm not trained to tell you, hey, if you take this, then it'll cure you, or not that deep into things, but just natural routine. You know what I mean? And not necessarily foundation, eyeshadow. I'm not really into cosmetics like cell wise in that nature, but more like essential oils. The
oils,
regular before bed routine kind of products, but things that are, like you said, holistic. I would like to provide a platform where people who have gone to school or done the training and have their own idea for the products they would like to sell, but have a platform that will cater to them. Rather than trying to compete to get into these major companies, like which is a whole process, and I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs end up losing their vision in the process, or losing their original whatever they had going on, like mentally, spiritually, that whole embodiment of their mission. Can get a little tainted or a little watered down or a little whatever, because you kind of got to adapt and change and contort to fit what these major companies really want. Like Tabitha Brown is an awesome example of that, where she goes in and the guy's like, lose the afro and change your southern twang to your voice, and let that stuff go because you're more marketable when you fit this criteria. And she gave them the big middle finger. I would like to provide a platform where that's not even a thing. You don't even have to fight with that type of beast. You know what I mean? Which definitely, before I can actually launch to my standard, I would have to have a name. I would have to have a name that is respected, that is reputable, that has proven that this is where you should come. And so that's what I'm working on at this point.
She gave a smooth Jane. He was like, I'm gonna just leave right here and that's it. No,
drop the mic.
I was like, you tried it. No, we're gonna pick the mic back up and finish your thought. No. They done. I say this every time when people come on. I can sit here and give a spiel and break down about different stuff, and I'm like, I'd want them to know and understand you offline. And when I say offline, because one of the things that you're bringing up with promoting, and this is what I'm becoming like the quiet advocate of, not even on a digital minimalism base, but just on a general dialogue of presenting content, is, hey, today is July 15th. At 1 p.m., Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Clubhouse, Threads, all gone. How are you going to get your business out there? And folks aren't, folks will be hurt.
I don't know.
So,
especially when 100% of your business is run from those apps.
And don't get me wrong, like they're resourceful. Like I always say, they are resourceful for what they're resourceful for. But it's a numbers game. If you're competing with, I'm not going to say brands because I don't want to give brands credit, but I can say it being funny. If you're giving brand credit to the circle, to the red circle, if you're giving credit to the 6 lines, if you're giving credit to Bezos, then Bezos, all the rest of them going to get their shine is going to get them where they need to be on those platforms. And that's just what it comes down to. So with Grand Nuva being your baby, that's your love and your passion, your desire. You may have said it somewhere in there, but if you already did, then we will move to another question. But what's your why?
I touched on it, but I didn't go into detail. I typically don't like to share negative perspectives. I don't like to bleed. But the why definitely comes from a place of, I wouldn't say desperation, maybe a little victimization, but a spirit bigger than where I was.
Right.
Like I said, I've always been ambitious. I've always been a go-getter. I've always been a fighter. I've always worked to overcome. And when I thought about overcoming, it's like, well, I cannot overcome to fall back into the same pattern. So how can I overcome and keep my head above water? Well, whether Grand Nuva becomes the conglomerate I dream of or not, Grand Nuva keeps my focus in such a place that I am consistently overcoming and refusing to return to old behaviors that may have kept me stagnant or complacent.
Gotcha.
So it's when you say it's my baby, it's my baby.
Right.
As a parent, when you have children, like it demands some kind of growth on your part. And Grand Nuva is doing that for me as well.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate the entity that it is already. And like I said, man, I'm so excited. Like to the point when I first launched and everyone's like, what's your elevator statement? Literally, Grand Nuva is a startup conglomerate. The startup conglomerate was my staple. And I had a lady that was helping me from the SBA. And she's like, well, you got to hone in more. Like, what are you actually doing? I'm like, I'm doing all of it, lady. I'm trying to tell you now. I'm doing all of it, literally.
Right.
I have way too much ability and too big of a capacity to limit myself.
Yeah.
And I know that I have to start small and grow. But I'm planting more than one seed. When the crop comes around next season, I'm going to have cucumbers, peppers, tomatoes, basil. I'm not going to have just watermelons growing in the garden. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Okay. I'm here for it. Definitely know that there's an evolution to it, and to say what I was saying, with you having a supply, there's a demand, because I mean everyone in some way, shape, or form is going to need some form of a business form or factor, or it may not even be business related, like you say on the entertainment side with music or with publishing. You mentioned it a little bit, and I know I heard it correctly. Are you looking or possibly going to do like book publishing? Okay, that's what I was heard. That's what I was hearing, but I know So about a year ago, like I said, Desi and I have known each other for over a year, and there was we kind of almost did like this whole book swapping thing where it was like, hey, I got some books to introduce you to, or some thoughts to share. And I remember one of the books was The Four Agreements. We're both still working on the other book, Level Up. I don't even carry it with me no more. I gotta have it, but I've been like, now it's been Atomic Habits. That's that's a whole, that talk about a whole podcast. That book has called me out on so many levels, and I'm still like not even past chapter 1 yet. But I'm also doing, and I may not have shared it with you. I've been telling people, I just got introduced to the Daily Stoic. Okay. It's like a daily, it's a daily read. It basically has you where you start, the book starts from January 1st to the end of the year. It's for 366 days. However, I'm starting like where it is right now. And like, it's funny because I could almost use it as my passing message today, saying like, do the right thing. We all know to do the right thing, but we choose not to. But yeah, spinning back to 4 agreements. One of the agreements is just be impeccable with your word. Just doing your best. Making sure you doing things the right way. And it's like you're in a space where you're doing the things that you need to become better. So continue that shine, continue that grind.
The 4 agreements for me was, I wouldn't say a major eye opener, but it was like it reinstilled ideologies and behaviors that I might have suppressed because, I got to survive right now.
Right.
And it did make me check myself in the way of, I made agreements that I didn't agree with in order to survive.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, at this point, I have the authority to break these agreements.
Always.
And I think a lot of people don't give themselves enough credit or authority over themselves. So for that, I would say it's an excellent read to remind you that in your life, you are always the main authority.
Right.
If you settle for it then, does not mean you have to settle for it now,
Yeah.
Break them chains.
Yeah. Speaking. All right. So speaking of, and this could be a dialogue. We can segue into another conversation, but let's go back a couple months ago when I think we had the conversation in person, and then I was like, and I tell people, like, everyone who's been friends with me in some way, shape, or form has gotten pulled into this circle of getting this board sent to them.
Yep.
Some way, shape, or form, it always comes up. And I was like, hey, what's your worth? And it's like, what do you mean, what's my worth? I was like, your worth, like, what do you sign yourself valuable as? And it's like, I'm not sure. And so then the follow-up I always do is I'm going to send you the Monopoly. I'll tell people I'll send a Monopoly board, or look up the Monopoly board, find and think of what your worth is on the board of a property. I have to make sure I say property because people will pick luxury tax or community chest or something. And I'm like, okay.
Pay me.
Right. I want to earn my worth near this area. I'm in jail just visiting. I don't think that's a good property, but okay, hey, whatever your dance is. But I say all that to say, I can remember, and it was evident before then, but I think for you, because you just have been kind of living through it and going through the motions, but from that conversation, and then you realizing, like, I'm Boardwalk, I have a high value, there was a transition. You want to talk about that a little bit? Well,
I would say first and foremost, when you hear me say I'm Boardwalk, most people might think, it's because it's like high priced, but when you listen to my breakdown of why I'm Boardwalk, a lot of it did not involve materialistic or monetary kind of value.
Right.
It was location, it was access, it was the spiritual food that I provide. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the worth of all of that. And I've always considered myself a good person. Yeah. Of course, there are people along the way that I have been a monster to. But I have survived a lot of things. You know? I would say that I'm not an unfair person, but I have dealt with a lot of unfair circumstances, and it has kind of jaded my outlook on myself, because I know that I'm strong enough to deal with this. So when I come to a situation where I'm dealing with that, I'm comfortable. And reclaiming like my outlook of myself as Boardwalk kind of made me step back and check myself. Like, okay, well, are you behaving as such? If you're allowing somebody to rush you to the point where you're falling through a ceiling, baby.
No pun intended.
Okay, no pun intended. That's not Boardwalk material.
Right.
And so I had to kind of check myself where, okay, I want to provide the expectation that I'm working with, you know, the level of skill and empathy, and, you know, people gravitate towards me and I don't want to cut them off or make them feel bad, but at the same time, I have to learn boundaries with that, you know. You wanting to do something for me, not you personally.
I know that, yeah, I got you.
An individual wanting to do something for me is awesome, it's great.
Right.
A lot of the times it's not needed, but I still give it the attention as if I'm so grateful because it's needed, because I know it means something to that person.
Right.
And I've had to learn how to put boundaries around that part to like better safeguard myself from being pulled in different directions or just pulled in a direction that is not for me.
Right.
You know, if I say that I'm here, this is where I belong, and I'm going that way, you having whatever idea that seems better to you because your perspective is on the outside of things isn't going to sway me anymore. So.
Right.
It was that was a really eye-opening question. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I know it's set because I know in the midst of it being said, I want to say like literally for like the first 2 or 3 weeks, I'm boardwalk. I was like,
I had to keep reminding myself.
I was like, okay, my bad.
Boardwalk. What in the white? Yeah.
But sometimes, and I think it's because people around us can challenge where our value lies or what we provide. Because I mean, as an advocate, I don't say the words, what do I bring to the table? But it's more so like who you are and what do you provide, or how are others able to understand your true value if you're in the room and if you're out of the room. Because if you're out of the room, sometimes it's a unique dynamic. If you're not there, you don't have to be there to know like, okay, it ain't the same dance when I'm there. Like, is the dance, did the dance pick up in enjoyment, or there's like, man, they gotta come back because we need you back in here so we have a good time. So it's always key to look at that and knowing like your like personally knowing your value and knowing who you are and what you can provide, or what ways that you can be resourceful unknowingly, to say the least.
That is big facts.
Yeah.
I've also learned like the absence of my affections or the lack of access to me was something that got more of the reaction that I wanted from people or felt like I deserved than my presence, right? Like I wasn't appreciated while I was there, but when I left, it's like this massive hole now, and then you deal with the anger and the resentment and the come back B word, because, you know, why did you leave? But I
was gonna say you can't curse, but
right. I'm trying to be good now.
So,
I usually curse okay.
Shit, on this podcast, we don't give a fuck. I'm sorry. Go ahead and get that. The disclaimer wasn't said verbally to you, but the pre-edited part already says explicit content. Hide your kids, hide your wife. If they don't
I'm actually working on that part. I had a DJ ask me recently, do you have any family-friendly music? And I'm like, well, I've got some softer tracks.
Right.
But I'm cussing in all of them. And he was like, oh, sorry, we can't use you. I'm like, well.
Because looking at it on the basis, I guess, if they're trying to like, from a random example, but it would be almost like if you're trying to stream radio based. So, fun fact, and this is probably this is random left field, but it popped up in my head thinking about it. As a kid, about to show our age, Kmart. Going in the store, you would get like certain cassette tapes. And it was like, okay, I got this cassette. It's edited, cool. Listening to something, like listening to this day, listening to Rough Riders, the edited version versus
after the song is gone.
versus the unedited. Somehow, because when I was in high school, one of the guys had Ride or Die Volume 1. And like he had the explicit version, so I was listening to it. I was like, "Damn,
that's what they
this
said."
Shit is way different. So I reference that or make that dialogue of that because like even with the radio, like today, I am team unless I have to listen to the radio. When I get a car or once I'm set up, it's like I need my Bluetooth connection. I need to be able to play my music. I want to stream whatever I can and kind of make it like a good flow to not be in the editable commercial window. And I get it because radio needs, radio, you get a lot of good local information. I'm not denying or disregarding it. However, I'd rather be able to be like, look, I won't play what I want to play.
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think I've listened to the radio in at least 15 years. Like, the last time I listened to the radio, 50 Cent in the Club was just coming out. Or Drake with his shenanigans.
Right.
Like, I'm listening, and I've always been one who listens to the words. Like, I remember watching Biggie and Tupac videos and Mobb Deep videos, and like my whole family is vibing, and I'm sitting there like, hold on now, do you hear the words they're saying?
Right. Yeah.
Like, I'm not a demon.
Yeah.
I don't. So I've always listened to words, and I actually got really offended with 50 Cent with that In the Club song, because I saw the influence it had on the group of individuals that I was around.
Right.
And I know that this man does not drink or smoke like that or do these drugs. You know what I mean? And there was, it's what he was selling. It wasn't the song, it's the influence that a lot of people like to deny actually happens when we listen to music.
Yeah.
But it's a very real thing. And I turned the radio off. I started listening to a lot of my own stuff or local artists that I was familiar with. Yeah. And then Apple Music came out. And, well, all of these different music streaming platforms.
The streaming boxes, yeah.
And I was able to, like, curate my own little Rolodex of motivational music, angry music, love music. And, like, okay, so I'll listen again. But definitely not to the radio.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I'm like, I think it's so funny because now it's personally become, one day you might come in the car, might be in an Apple Music mood. The next you might get in the car, might be in a Spotify mood. You might come in and it's like, okay, we just listening. Like one day, no lie, I had somebody who rode with me. They got in the car and they didn't understand because I was listening to a podcast. And people who, riders with folks who listen to podcasts don't understand. When you're listening to a podcast, it's like, I appreciate you talking, but this is one of those, like, I need this conversation. Like I'm consuming this information.
I do that a lot too.
And they didn't understand that, and I'm sitting there, and they was like, "Are you mad?" I was like, "I'm not mad. Like I'm trying to." And I think I think what made it even closer was the person whose podcast I was listening to. I personally knew them, and it was like them. They were in their early podcast journey, and I'm thinking they're gonna come back with doing their show, but they got involved with writing a book that takes off, and that's another lane to go into. So I get it, but at that time, listening to their shows, I was like, this is some good information. But it's tough because when you have someone who's sitting there that doesn't understand, like, hey, I appreciate the talks and I appreciate the conversation, but right now it's not the time. So people don't get that, like even down to, hey, I want to listen to this new album. Yeah. Album plays.
I'm actually listening to it.
Right.
I say I want to hear it.
like you want to overtalk the music, and it's like it's almost like, and both of us, I think we've joked on this without joking on this. It's like being somewhere at a club or being out at a get together, and it's like music is playing and someone's trying to talk. Right. You're like
time and place.
Right.
Time and place.
Yeah. Like don't
be in the parking lot.
All right, that's the end of this podcast. We can go ahead and go to passiveness. Be on 10. They trying to play it. I'm like, why are you really right now?
You know what though? It's crazy. I'm like that. For the most part, I'm like that with anything I put on the car. But the staple for me is classical music, and people tend to think I'm crazy when I pull up. It's either I'm blasting reggae or I'm blasting classical.
For at least. Oh, you thought you surprised I knew that? First, so two ways I can go into that. One, which I don't think people use it enough, and let me be clear, I'm not giving Apple any sponsorship or promo on this, but I'm just saying it as like the truth. When Apple brought out that classical music app, they knew what they were doing. It was long overdue. It was something that was work that will easily work. I think as time progresses, they're going to want to make sure I use this word properly, geniusify it to give it like the genius flow, like Apple Podcasts. I mean, not Apple Podcasts, like the Apple Music app does.
Yeah.
So that's the first part. Second part, I feel like I tell this story almost every couple episodes on the podcast. Classical music started with me in the most unique way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Programming. So my teacher, I went to ECPI, and we were sitting in this. I will always remember this classroom. They called it the fishbowl. You sit in the room. It's pretty almost like this, and it's like you have students who are coming in that are like, "Hey, I'm looking to come to ECPI," and they see you sit in this room. You got to stay awake because it's just bad publicity.
Yeah.
So in the process, he would be like, "All right, I'm gonna go over this stuff with y'all, and then y'all got time to work on like whatever we were programming." So while we're programming, he'd throw on classical music one time, and I was like,
The focus stuff.
it's kind of bumping right now. Let me throw this in the mix. So classical, I will easily say classical, and I think I asked because somebody asked this as a question to me on TikTok one time. It was like, "What type of music do you play?" And I think I put lo-fi first, but it's almost like lo-fi and classical are like interchangeable. Because classical, I can literally play like I could like if it was a 3-man weave and it was like a match and it was like whoever wins I'm okay with. Classical, lo-fi, and jazz.
Yeah.
In any order, I could literally function with those, and they'd be like, "So it's these new artists that got some music." I'm like, "Okay,
Right.
let me get this classical real quick."
Right.
That's great.
I don't know. For me, it's like when I consume music, it's mostly for a vibe. Like I curate my playlists and things like that based on the vibes that I want, not necessarily how much I like the artist or the song, but
Right.
the energy it provides me with. Like when I used to go on my interviews, literally country music. I'm listening, and I don't mean the neighbor shot my dog and stole my wife and I lost my job music.
The tragic ones be a little
little
painful.
much.
Yeah, they be.
The uplifting ones, because like the beat, the tempo, and just the vibe of it gets you in a place where you're ready to greet.
Yeah.
And you're ready to convince people, that life is great.
Right.
Yeah, like that was a tool that I used, and literally I got the job every single time.
Yeah.
And I would thank country music for that.
The good country music. Let's make sure we emphasize that.
When I'm going somewhere and I need to be determined, or I need to be like motivated, or I'm trying to amplify like my positive spiritual vibes, reggae. I'm listening to roots. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I got some weird stuff going on, I might need to make a couple moves, rap.
Yeah.
When I need to maybe dumb down my anxiety or silence my mind, I'm more into a jazz or a classical or something that's more instrumental, that's smoother, that has notes that trigger different things in my mind. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, like music is definitely a tool for me more than anything.
Yeah, I'm with that, and I think it's like because it's like it's a unique double-edged sword on my end, only because on one side of it I played in the band, so like between playing flute, playing alto, playing tenor, like I'm always picking up certain note sounds by default. But then on the opposite end, it's like you said, what you're consuming, and then two. It's the breakdown of what you consume, where you consume it. Like if you're playing, certain songs have different plays in different arenas. Like I've pushed people. I don't even know if JBL sells it anymore. JBL had this speaker that's like, they have two versions of it. They have one that you can pretty much carry wherever, and then they got one that like you plug it in place, and it's pretty much almost like a smart speaker. And I mean, I got that recently in like a real affordable price, and I was like, this has become like an undercover huge game changer, because you can I can throw it on and kind of almost, because it's connected to Spotify, or if I'm like, hey, let's run it through Apple Music, whatever. Like I'll let it does its work to play what I need to play, and it's not like, oh my God, I'm gonna hear something crazy. It plays, and it's not at like a crazy sound or crazy level, and it's not. And I think like I'm always talking about like, leave the phone, just put the phone away. So it's like, all right, I don't have to use the phone to manage it. It's gonna do everything on its own.
Up.
Yeah. So We're a little over 50 minutes and didn't even realize it.
Oh, seriously?
So yeah. So
time flies when you're having fun.
Listen, and I'm not. And this is not me throwing the time in there like, oh, we done. I'm just giving you like where we are with everything. One thing we did not talk about, because we did talk about a little bit with the web part. You also do graphic design and Procreate.
Yes.
Give the listeners because I had known of Procreate because I believe, because before I met you, I'd already bought my iPad. I'd already bought Procreate. It sat there and it didn't really do much. Then I got introduced, like I probably bought more brushes than a few. But then we did like some sessions on Procreate, and you are their designs you sent me, and I'm like, this is a dope design that pushed through Procreate. So, yeah, absolutely. So give the listeners your designing story of kind of like what got you in that avenue, at least in the graphic and web scene, at least.
Well, like I said, I've always loved editing.
Yeah.
And creating the things that I edit definitely has pushed me to look for different avenues where I can repeat that same kind of process.
Right.
And logos are, of course, a business-to-business service that Grand Movement provides. And it started off with me needing a logo. And in the past, I had a business called Desirable Crafts, which I did have to put the baby down for personal reasons. But I purchased the logo through a guy. He was a dope artist, dope creator, very nice guy. But when I got the logo, it was like, wow, I could do that. I just don't have the tools. And one saying that has always stuck with me is, you can accomplish anything with the right tools.
Absolutely.
So I started looking around, what are the best apps or the best programs where I can design my own logos. And of course, there are dozens of hundreds of millions of apps that you can download and do a lot of different things with.
Right.
Shout out to Adobe Express. But
listen.
Procreate gave me more creative control.
Okay.
For every aspect of the logo.
Yeah.
The amount of layers that I'm able to have so I can have my mock-up, my first draft, and my final all right there. So I don't have to flip in between and go through. Anyway, it was time saving for me.
Yeah.
And the program is so strong, you can damn near animate in Procreate.
Yeah. And
it helped me to give products that are more on the standard that I'm going for. The coloring, the lines, so many different brushes you can use. And since we're living in a more digitized world now, where the coloring is not such a factor that hinders you on, logo creation.
Yeah, you're not stuck in the 200. I call it the 256. You got way more options now.
Way more options now. So I let them colors pop.
Yeah.
And it's just, I love it. Procreate, I don't use just for logo design. When I'm brainstorming, I just want to doodle. Sometimes, I need a vision board. I go to Procreate. I upload my images. I'm able to write right there what they mean. I can type in, so it's more legible, It's a really awesome program. That, and I also use Video Leap a lot.
Yeah, Video Leap is popular.
Much stronger program than I think people give it credit for.
Yeah.
I know CapCut is the shiznit, but you can literally do everything in Video Leap, or almost everything that you can do in CapCut.
Yeah.
Those are my two go-tos.
Yeah, I don't think people give I don't think people give Video Leap enough credit with its scope because it's not as mainstream used. And if you really are realistic about it, the same can be said with Procreate. Like, you're not going to see anyone that's openly going to come out and say, "Oh, this is
what I think it is though. I think it's a thing of like with CapCut and with Adobe. Like, I love Adobe, but you're not forced to be as creative because the templates, and I mean, Video Leap and Procreate have templates for you also.
Right.
But when you launch those apps, the first thing they demand is creativity.
Yeah.
Start from scratch.
Right.
And it can be time consuming. It can be a real mental challenge sometimes, figuring out how to tweak these things to get the actual results that you want.
Right.
But one thing that I have done a lot of is like reverse engineering. So I'll find something or I'll find a template that I really like. And then I'll go in and figure out from scratch how to get that effect or how to get that result.
Yeah.
And then I'll put my own little tweak on it so it's not exactly the same as, like, creative wise, like proper snagging of other things. You know what I mean?
Ironically, and it's still funny, it's a book that's written called Still Like an Artist, which is probably one of my favorite books that I need to, like, I have this whole trilogy. I need to read that set ASAP. Austin Kleon is an interesting guy in a good way. Yeah. But yeah, no, you're right. It is like, it's in reverse. I don't think people realize that is probably one of the most productive ways to learn certain things is to do reverse engineering. Like, I mean, it's a weird example, but with podcasting, everyone knows me for using Audition, but I've used Audacity, I've used GarageBand, I've used so many different recording programs. And when I first got Audition, back when I was getting it the way I didn't need to, I would go in and I would learn how to do certain stuff. And I was like, okay, I can kind of mess around with this. But then once I learned how to clean up background noise, how to make it so that if someone else is on the show and it's like, hey, why this person don't sound as loud? It's like, you can go in and
fix that.
You can fix everything. But I think it's so tough because I've said this a couple of times over the last few months. People are given these applications and these programs, and it's like, okay, go have fun. Good luck figuring it out.
Yeah.
And in some instances, you have people that are like, okay, I'm going to learn how to figure it out. You can give two people Facebook and give those same two people in any designing program, Illustrator, Procreate, Canva, any of them. If you don't give them any instructions, no YouTube videos, how they utilize both of them you'll be very, it's almost as blindly eye-opening because with Facebook, there's ways that Facebook can be used to become very profitable without having to do boosting posts. And people don't know that because they're pushed into, you got to boost your page.
They want their money.
Of course.
That coin.
Yeah. Zuck got to get the bag. I'm not tripping on it, but it's just like when you think of it on that aspect, but then you also break down like, okay, we're giving you Procreate. You paid the $10. You have all the brushes. Matter of fact, we'll give you that. Like, it's a company I've supported them. I think it's Visual Timmy. I bought his pack. Cool, you got all these brushes, you got all these swatches, you got all these colors. Now make something. How? With
Where
what?
do you begin?
Yeah, right. So having to think of where to begin and how to process through it is key.
Yep. Now, we just mentioned the whole boosting thing. For me, the only benefit to boosting, because you're right, if you know algorithms and you know how to ride those waves, you don't necessarily need the whole boosting effect. Save yourself some money.
Yeah.
When it comes to targeting like specific audiences though, and not just putting a blanket over everything.
Yeah.
Like hashtags, I don't know, I guess they're still like viable, but to me they've lost a little of the oomph that they used to have. The boosting in the past has allowed me to pull in a specific targeted audience.
Right.
Doing less work.
Yeah.
For me, that's where That's the same reason I went with the website platform that I went with, because it does some of the work for me.
Right.
The parts of the work that I find have in the past taken up most of my time. So it's taken away from my time to be creative, or my time to network, or my time to all that stuff.
Yeah.
I have actually been attacked on Facebook for boosting a post. And the guy's like, "You're a business. How do you feel, dumbass, for boosting a post?" Well, dumbass, I pulled you, man.
How did they know? But how did they know you
I
boosted
feel
it?
great. Because it showed up as a sponsored ad. So when you boost, it does, like, it'll show up in somebody's inbox, it'll show up on their news feed, but it'll show up as sponsored. And a lot of people still don't realize that all interaction is considered interaction.
Absolutely.
So whether you're commenting to curse me out or you're commenting to give me props,
You're pushing me you're pushing me through
you're
the algorithm
helping
a lot
my
better.
algorithm.
Right.
So the next post will come with no boost. You know what I mean? It'll be riding a wave. But yeah, that's all I want.
No, you good. No. So, and like, to be clear, I'm not anti-boost. I want to be clear when I say that, because I think of it as this: if it's going to work for what you're doing for your business, and it's not going to affect the bottom line, go for it. I think my dialogue, where I always come into it, is because I think we talked about this before, and I know I use this person's post as an example every time, where it's like, it don't make sense if I'm joining a group and the group don't let me promote my business. And it's like, that's not the group's job.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a business, you should be relying on your business to promote, which is you. If you're the business, you promote the business. So if the promotion means you got to push it to more viewers, because one thing, and this is something that even with me not posting to this extreme, one thing that I always look at on Instagram, I don't look at it on Facebook, because I don't, like I said, I think Facebook, I've kind of like, it's eased its way out of my attention, because now I'm like, as backward as it sounds, I post more on Threads than I do on Facebook. Yeah.
I have not touched Threads yet.
Is
it worth it? Because I have Twitter.
So,
and I use Twitter, but not like.
So my direct answer is, it's good to utilize, but it's not like a tell-all be-all in Threads. Like I like Threads, but it's also, I think it was my way of saying, like, I want a fan of what Twitter was doing, because
all the limitations and the controls.
Right.
Yeah, I heard that Threads is very similar, just not with the letter count.
Right. The letter count, I think you get a little bit more, and it's because it's following what Twitter does. You can tweet, not tweet, but you can write it as a thread. So you can write a whole lot of message, and if it's not enough characters, you start a new thread, and it all will line up. Fun fact, because we talked about this last week. Did you know that this was an app they had before?
I did hear that.
Yeah. So Thread was out back in 2021. When Instagram brought it out, or Facebook brought it out, it didn't really dance like expected. And so they shut it down. They shut it down around that time when Facebook went down for like a couple of hours and they lost a lot of money. And then it was like Mark Zuckerberg comes out with Meta. And when Meta came out, it was almost like the focus was Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Oculus. There's a fifth program I keep thinking of. I don't know what it is it's in my head, but I can't remember it offhand. And it might have been Thread, but then they ended up it was like they shut Thread down. Yeah. About a month or two later, yeah. So like, it was like any app, and it's now that it's odd, because I always love sharing this. Like, now as a developer, like, I pay attention to stuff like this unintentionally, because it's like, so let me get this straight. If the guy who made Flappy Birds wanted to, not that he would do it, because I think he sold it, but if it was a thing that could be done, they could flip a switch back on to bring that app up to be available on any app, on any platform. And it's so... You made reference to him a couple days ago, but it literally refers to Common of having universal mind control. Because an app can be pulled from a app store. But if you got the app already, you good. But once you delete it, it's gone. Because a few weeks ago, there was an app that I use a lot of times called Keep Calm. It was a Keep Calm where you could pretty much make Keep Calm and add whatever.
That app.
They got rid of it. They got rid of it. Was one version that was out there that was like I had the paid version of it and everything.
Me too.
Yeah, and it's calm.
Oh, I didn't know this. Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not gonna lie, I did not commit to it as I told myself I would.
Yeah, I mean it was a solid. Like I said, it was a solid run.
Yeah.
And the thing too that I think what's getting the attention of Thread also, at least that I've noticed, it's not super sponsor heavy. Like you're not running into, like when you scroll, you're not getting hit with like different ads all the time. Ads. Right. Mm-hmm. And you, at least from what I can see so far, I have a good visual. Like everyone that I'm seeing, whoever's content is people I follow. It's not like you're not getting a random Shaquille O'Neal tweet or not thread. You're not getting any threads that outside the people that you're following.
Yeah.
So that part of it, those factors, I'm like, okay, I can roll with this. But it's also like, it's like anything, you got to give it time because like the traction for it seems like it's there. Like I was even thinking about that this morning. It was like a couple years ago, pandemic time. My two favorite apps, I don't even touch them anymore. Yeah, Snapchat and Clubhouse.
For me, it's like I tend to stay away from apps while they're trends, and if they become a staple, then I'll dip my foot in and see how it's working out.
Yeah.
Because there were like a lot of apps like within the last couple of years that popped up, and then 2 months later, where are they?
Right.
It's like I don't have time to keep reinvesting into trending things because trends are fickle; they change.
Oh yeah.
Like, and then even with a staple like a Facebook or Instagram, there's no guarantee. If Mark Zuckerberg mess up bad enough, or the owners of Meta mess up bad enough, and Facebook is no more, that staple is pulled out.
Right.
And so what next?
Right.
The only thing I would say is solid is the internet itself.
Yeah. I
trust that ain't going nowhere no time soon.
Yeah, they can't. They're not going. The internet is kind of relied upon for a lot more outside of social media. Stuff. Yeah. So no, I 100% agree. You know, like that was our conversation, and I shared with people. It's still mind blowing how that happened. Like I had a conversation that's Friday, that Saturday I literally hopped on a podcast and was like, look, I don't know how to tell y'all this, but don't be so reliant on these websites. Like don't be so reliant on these apps. Like have you a
website, have you a home. And I mean, when you think about how there's actual like property and intellectual property being sold as real estate on the internet.
AKA domains and hosts,
buy your property. Right. That domain name is not just a name that's floating around in the cloud somewhere. That's your capital in a sense.
Right.
It can be if you nurture and grow it right. So that's a definitely big thing for me.
Oh yeah. So ironically it's said 1:11 and 11 seconds, so I'm gonna assume that's my way of being given a message to say pass the message. So at the end of the show, I'm not sure if you've heard my shows before, but at the end of the show, so at the end of the show I always like to do a message to close out. And since you are a guest, I would like you to give a message to the listeners of something that they can walk away with. It could be related to you, related to life. It could be value, whatever. I never tell anybody what to say at their message because it's an open dialogue.
See, there's so many messages. So many. What's sitting on my heart right now? I would say don't ever get too comfortable. Ooh. Don't ever get too comfortable. Challenge yourself because that's the only way you will continue growing.
Right.
And if you're not growing,
you're stagnant.
You're stagnant. Stagnation is death. Okay. Yeah.
You gave me the evil.
No, not for
no. But that was the part. No, so this
Think
is where
I'm going.
I know. No, this is the video. No, because I was like, this is where if we had video. There's been a
Yeah,
hole
my
in the window.
facial expressions are usually the highlight of
I'm cool about it.
the Desi vibe.
I've known about it, so I 100% get it. That's why when you do certain face, I'll be sitting there like, mm-mm.
But yeah, don't ever get too comfortable. When you get to a place where you are comfortable, all of your needs are met, challenge yourself again.
Yeah.
If you're in a place where you feel stuck and you're unhappy, challenge yourself.
Yeah.
And don't ever put the weight of who you are versus who you want to be on anyone else's shoulders or in anyone else's hands. You got to take charge and lead your own way. Even if you're following a protocol, following a person that you revere, you still have to take charge and make your own decisions. So just don't ever get too comfortable and stop doing that.
Mic drop. I like it. I'm here for it. That's definitely that's valid. Because being complacent does limit it stunts your growth in so many words. I'm digging it. Like I said, and it's so funny because when messages are given, it's like it'd be for the people listening, but then I'll be sitting there like, well, damn, that made me have to think about some stuff. Like, hold on, wait a minute. But no, it's valued. It's definitely valid, definitely true.
And they say, stay hungry, my friend.
Oh yeah, you got it. Yeah, stay hungry.
Yes.
Definitely stay hungry. My message that I'm gonna pass along: one, thanks for coming on the show.
Yes.
We, value being in the den and a BT Express, of course. But it's been the past. Yeah, absolutely. The vibes are always the vibes. We've been rocking out and talking. Like I said, this is like overdue in the making. So, one, thanks for being on as a guest. Two, don't make it your last time. Definitely want because now we need to know about the new vid because I want to definitely make that just.
That would be an awesome conversation.
Yeah. I literally am open enough to being a solid B mic on that show. Just not even saying a single word. I would just turn the mic and be like, we have a host and I'm a guest. And I will let her tell her story and I'm just here chilling.
Yeah, welcome to Desi's Den presented by BT The Pass. Yes. Get that branding right.
Yeah. Branding got to be done right. Absolutely. But yeah, all valued, all appreciated. Message of the day. I don't know if I probably have shared this before, but it's circling back again. So I'm going to stick with what I know. And that is utilize your two best resources that are the easiest to access, which are pen and paper. A lot of times we're so, I'm not as a tech person, as a digital consumer, I am all for every mobile device we have and how resourceful they are. However, batteries are not our best friends.
No.
So a phone charger, a power bank, a wireless accessory, all of those things are great for what they do. But if you're in a crunch to have to get a note, literally $1 at Walmart and maybe $1 and some change at Walmart will get you a nice, decent, simple pen and paper set. There's a 3-pack of, because I tell people this all the time. There are these, like I have one of them now. I use it's a basic notebook, a little small, it looks like a little baby composition notebook. It comes in black, red, and blue. It's in a pack, $1. Just one set, and you can carry it in your pocket. If you want to be fancy and step it up a notch, Field Notes. I think Field Notes makes pretty good notebooks. A lot of people. I don't know if I had the conversation last week, but it was somebody I was having a conversation with. They were like anti-moleskin. They're not a big fan of it, and I was like, I get it. It's all about lanes and avenues. But I got my moleskin notebooks too. If you really want to be fancy and you are at that level, Luctrum, they are. They make really high quality notebooks. And as far as pens, that's a whole podcast on its own for me personally, because I think I actually did a podcast about pen comparisons. But if you want the cheap, easy route, Pilot G2, Sharp roller gel pens. Around these parts, I'm a 0.38 or 0.5 guy. One of my friends, we've we've been kind of finding ourselves like in Pens Anonymous classes. I'm probably not supposed to say this on air, but I don't care. I just put down 30 on a fountain pen. But I did almost the same with another pen I got with me. It's a Twisby pen. It's probably one of my favorite fountain pens I've used. But I say all that to say, like, you want to be sure you're in a space to write something down, only because if you don't write that down now, whatever it is gone. Mm-hmm. It is gone. Like, spending the time of opening your phone, going to the Notepad app, trying to find
searching through all the notes you have, mm-hmm.
Then trying to get like to a key, or heaven forbid if you got to write a new note, getting to the keyboard, unless you're gonna swipe it. Or if you want to be digital and you want to swipe for no swipe.
You know, that's my thing now. I'll swipe you to death on a text message.
Hey, listen, and and it's funny because like I like and it's like the default keyboard app probably is one of my faves because they used the swipe format. But then I was rocking with SwiftKey for the longest time, and I'm supposed to be wrapping the show up, but whatever. Y'all gonna catch all of this. Swipe, they did Microsoft SwiftKey. Thought it was a good keyboard. Now I'm a Google. I use Gboard. I think Gboard is like a pretty good keyboard.
I haven't tried that one yet.
Yeah, Gboard is not too bad. Its flaw, which isn't really a big deal, is they have color options for like how it look and feel, but you're kind of like, you get black or white. Or if you want to throw other colors in, you can download like an image to make it your background or whatever. But otherwise, like, it runs pretty good. Just like the default keyboard, you can set it up to be one-handed because I'm telling you now, I've turned into that person now, like, especially with the next phone that I'm getting, I will probably be going to like mini or whatever, because my hand, like, I have a big hand, pause, whatever y'all want to do with that, run it up.
5 thumbs.
But I literally be sitting there like, bro, you cannot, like, you sitting here trying to type, like on Pro, like the Pro Max and Ultras, like, I respect y'all. Because when it's like, I'm thinking of typing, I'll be like, bro, I'm not about to swipe.
Let me tell you something though. What I like the most about Swipe is it kills my proofreading time.
Same.
I can almost spell the word right.
Yeah.
And it'll come up with the word that I want versus type a few letters, delete, because it's not pulling up the word that I want so I can click on it. So while I'm on the go and I'm walking, which walking and texting is dangerous, people. When you're walking, take your head out the phone, okay? But like, if I'm on the go, on the move, I'm at a stop sign or a stoplight and I know it's going to change, swipe.
Yeah.
Quick double check to make sure it's mostly right. Send it. It saved me so much time.
Yeah.
The proof, because I used to be bigger about it too with the proofreading. I could not send a text that had grammatical errors in it or misspelled words. I felt like that said something about my character. I've gotten less on my high horse about that, but like Swipe definitely makes that easier.
Yeah. And from my closing argument to that, which is probably Android probably has this feature. I need to check with my Android folks and see. But when iPhone added that update to do, you can edit whatever you send to somebody. Like, oh wait, I misspelled that, or that was like that was helpful too. Not gonna lie. So yeah. But yeah, we got through.
I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.
Of course, man. You already know this is just a regular day at the office. But it's just like I tell anybody when they come on the show as we're recording this and wrapping up, it's literally like it's like it's like having a conversation, just throwing a mic in the middle. So until next time, let's see. So today is the 15th. There will be no show next week. I'm taking me time. I'm just going to say it that way. Most of you, if you've been keeping up with the podcast, you already know what's been going on. But I will be taking a break. There will possibly be a show. Well, no, after the 29th, I might be back. We're going to see. And then we going into August, and I got a couple of guests coming into August. I got an idea of what may be in place of the show for Saturday. I don't want to get too far ahead. I need to see if the person I want to have on is going to be open to doing that, but we got to see what happens. But in the meantime, in between time, this is episode 383. in Desi's Den.
Ew.
Featuring Desi with your
Brand
host,
new
BT.
vet.
Brand new vet. Y'all take it easy. Catch y'all next time.
Peace.
Another episode is completed. Thank you all for listening. If you want to check out the podcast, you can go to buzzsprout.com. If you're looking to do podcasts, you can go to buzzsprout.com. To get to my podcast, you'll go to the pastbtpod.buzzsprout.com. If you're looking at getting a microphone, I always suggest getting the Blue Yeti X. That is the microphone that I use. If you're starting off and you need something more affordable, Samsung Meteor, it's a worthwhile investment. And there are other microphones that are going to be simple enough. My big suggestion I tell everyone whenever looking for a microphone, be sure that your microphone has the ability to have you listen to your audio or listen to yourself as you're talking. It will make a big difference in your editing and your podcast. Also, most importantly, and I tell people this is a tip offline, but I'm giving this in the final listen or the end of the show. Drink water while recording, and also just drink water in general. But drink water while you're recording, and the reason why, you'll be surprised. All right, see y'all on the next show.